Matthew 7 verse 1 may well be the most misquoted verse in the entire Bible. Both believers and unbelievers regularly misquote Matthew 7 verse 1 in their daily lives, although generally without recognizing that they're quoting Jesus. The verse simply says, "Do not judge, that you may not be judged," or "Do not judge, so that you will not be judged." How do people misuse this verse? Well, essentially they use it as a shield for sin to prevent being held accountable for their bad behavior. Do not judge becomes a kind of get-out-of-jail-free card that prevents others from holding you responsible or calling you account for something that you've done. And that fits the spirit of the age perfectly. The spirit of the age glorifies tolerance and wants to treat every human being as if they're a free, autonomous agent able to do whatever they wish. But that's not what the Bible teaches, and it's certainly not what Jesus meant in Matthew 7 verse 1. So what did Jesus mean in Matthew 7 verse 1 when he said, "Do not judge"? To answer that, you need to understand two layers of context behind the verse. Firstly, there's the canonical context. Now don't be put off by the big word. Canon simply means the whole Bible. And the idea is frightfully simple. The meaning of any verse or statement in the Bible must fit the teaching of the entire Bible, the Bible as a whole. And the Bible as a whole certainly doesn't teach that every human being is a free moral agent and that humans should never be called to account for the things that they do, that they're not as responsible to any kind of absolute standards. This is completely foreign to the Bible. The scriptures repeatedly tell us that we are responsible to discern between good and evil. More than that, we are called to champion what is good and to oppose what is evil. And you can't do that without judging. You can't do that without discerning between right and wrong, good and bad, having absolute moral standards, and so on. Secondly, we have to consider the immediate context. The immediate context of a passage of Scripture or a verse in the Bible is the paragraph and slightly broader passage to which it belongs. In the case of Jesus' statement, "Do not judge or you too will be judged," the immediate context says this. You might know this passage fairly well, but I'll read it. "For in the same way that you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure that you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye, but you do not notice the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, 'Let me take the speck out of your eye,' when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." You're starting to see Jesus' point here. The topic is not actually judgment. The topic is hypocrisy. Jesus' point isn't that people should never be held to any moral standard and that everyone should be free to do exactly what they wish, when they wish, without being called to account. Jesus' topic is that we are to deal with the sins in our own lives, and once we've dealt with the sins in our own lives, we'll be able to see clearly to help others to deal with the sins in their lives. The issue is hypocritical judgment, not all judgment. Hope that makes sense. Jesus is not saying that we should never judge others. Rather, what he is saying is that if we are not prepared to look inwardly and deal with the issues in our own lives, we're unfit to be calling other people to account for the things that they've done wrong. Imagine, for instance, that John scolds Eric for swearing, and then John immediately goes out and gossips about Lucy to somebody else. John is, on the one hand, picking on his friend for abusing or misusing his tongue, and then he goes out and does the very same thing without any willingness to be called to account for that. That's hypocrisy. That's the kind of judgment that Jesus is against. Or imagine Bongani scolding his daughter because the outfit that she wants to go out in is too revealing. And no sooner is she out the door than Bongani logs onto a porn site and looks at other naked girls doing the very thing and worse that he was rebuking his daughter for doing. So friends, do not judge is not a get-out-of-jail-free card for us to say there are no standards to which we can be held accountable by others. Rather, it is a challenge that we are to first look inwardly deal with the issues in our own lives, and then we're in a position to help others to deal with the sins in their lives. Hope that's helpful.